So we're going to be doing React Toolkit query, and we're going to be fetching from this API. I'm going to link this document with all the kind of code in it, so you get to see everything in it, right? Okay, so the first thing you need to do, you need to have... I don't think you have to install anything, right? Oh yeah, you have to install Redux Toolkit. So let's do that. Okay, I found it. Alright, so we're installing React Redux Toolkit, whatever, blah blah blah. Okay, for this, to be honest with you, you don't need to set up store at all, because it's going to work without the store. So the first thing we need to do, we need to create a folder which is called API. Now, you can call it whatever you want, but I think it's recommended to use API. So let's call this main API JS, like this. Now from here, what you can do is you can just probably copy and paste this code. Well, we need to insert this. You can honestly probably copy and paste it, to be honest with you. Let me just copy and paste it, rename it real quick. So this is main API. I called it main API. Main API. Okay, so the most important thing, you see those hooks that you're going to be given, right? That you're going to, well, I'll do it later. Okay, so this path in here, I don't know what it does, to be honest with you. I recommend leaving it as API. I tried with 2, it still works, so it could be just some kind of a namesake or whatever, right? So that's explaining to you this, right? This part. So base query, fetch base query, so you need to import it first, right? Base URL is going to be the name of the server. It's going to be like the server where you're fetching it from. So in our case, it's this thing here. Okay? So for example, you can set it up as this here if you want. Let's say we set it up like this. But then you're gonna have to use for query, you have to add like this, you know, users. So this is basically just referring to base API, right? So whatever is the base API you want to use. I just prefer to use, because you see, like that's the base API with the users. So I'm gonna put it as with users in here, okay? And I'm gonna remove this part. I don't know what the heck was this. Okay, so now endpoints. When you create endpoints, they're essentially your roots, right? So this is going to be your builder. This is going to be the name, right, that you're going to be using. And then this is going to be... Hold on a sec, I'm just getting confused. 1 second. Okay, so... okay. So the query name must have these guys here with a capital letter. So when you say use query, and then you have to type whatever is in here. Okay, so let me just manipulate this real quick. Okay, so let's do boom 1. I don't know, let's take 1 like this. Okay. So then your hook is going to be use take 1 query like this. Now the question is it using sequence? Is it using order? Right, like the first hook refers to the first one. Well, let's experiment with this, but we can do it later. Okay, so this is the name of your whatever the root, right? Builder.query, and in here you want to put the root, or not the root, but URL. So if you were to do it kind of without the base URL, you would probably do it this way, right? But since we already have a base URL, we can remove it because it's going to reference the base URL and then attach whatever is in here. So this gets copy and pasted into it automatically when you think about it. All right, and then we're gonna add more roots to it, but I mean, let's just stick to 1 for now. Okay, so once you set up this, you're pretty much almost done. The second thing you need to do is you need to go to index, and then you need to. We can probably ignore this because that's my root. That's my Redux basically. RTQ. And now you're gonna copy and paste. You're gonna copy and paste this stuff here. So this is from the framework, right? And the second thing you need to pay, you basically need to get the import. This thing here, I think you need, right? Yeah. So we need to get this thing here from, where's the location on this? Probably Redux. Yeah, Redux API, and then where is it? It's in here. Okay, and the final thing you do, you basically wrap your app with this provider. Let's say provider, oops, API provider like this. And then we need to pass configuration into it. Yeah, you see API, which is going to be API like this, equals to main API. So whatever you imported. Okay, so now this thing here is available to your app component, right? So let's go to app component. So now we need to import this hook into the component, right? So we're gonna do import like this from, where is it again? Redux, yes. API. Okay, and then you're going to do this basically. Let's do const data equals use take 1 query, and this should return us basically, this should return us this call here, basically this thing here under, yeah. So let's do this. Let's console log this data. Let me just go to, so you can see it happening in here. Okay, so it returned an object, and you can see there are like bunch of stuff in it. You can see data, you can see is error, is fetching, is loading, blah blah blah. So you can kind of you know, build your. Oh, it has request ID as well. Cool. So you can see it has current data, it has data, right? So we just want the data, right? So we're gonna just type data, data, and then you see, so we're getting this request. Okay, so one thing I want to experiment with. Well, let me kind of do another one for you, so you know, if it solves your problem, then you can do your thing. Get by ID. Let's do like this. So it's gonna build our query. Query is gonna be ID. Okay, so here, remember again, we have this already copy and pasted by default because we have the base. Whoops. We have the base URL set up, right? So you can imagine that this is like this, dot, and then we want the ID in here. We basically want to replicate this call here. You see, you can do, let's say 1, it's going to show 1 person. We're gonna do 2, it's going to show this person here. Okay. So like this, and then we need to use get by ID query. There you go. So now we need to import this thing here, and then const data ID, and then whatever ID is, let's do 2. Right, so then, and we want to get data again from it, right? So this should, in theory, give us. Hold on a sec. I forgot to save, that's why. I sometimes, yeah, so you see it gives you the specific person, basically, right? Okay, so now I want to do 2 things. I want to experiment, and I want to show you one of the problems that I have with this system. Right, so let me just do experimentation. Let's call this blah. Okay, so will it recognize blah? Because if it recognizes blah, it means it's just this works like an array, basically. So if this one is first, it will go with this one. If this one is, it basically uses order as not name but order. Okay, so let's see. Oh no, it does not. Yeah, you see, it's not finding it. Maybe I forgot to save. Hold on a sec. Did I save? Yeah, I did save. Okay. Yeah, so it uses name. It uses name, right? So you have to call this. Let's call this blah 2, right? So if this is blah 2, this will be blah 1. And let's swap them around. Let's use blah 2 is gonna be first, and then use blah 1 is gonna be second, right? So now we need to import them like this. So this will be use blah 1 because it's single. Well, it fetches the whole data, and blah 2 is with an ID, right? So if this works, then It's about naming conventions. Yeah, you see, it works. Okay, so if you're running into an error, this means that you're not naming them correctly, right? So it has to have use, right? It has to have query, and then whatever the name is that you indicate in here, capitalized. And that's it. Then this is how it works. Okay, I'll show you the problem with it, right? Why I don't particularly big fan of this. Use state. So let's say we have a input, right? Whoops. And now we're gonna have input. We're gonna have value equals input on change equals e set input e target value, like this, right? Okay, here's the problem. Look, you see, you type something, it fetches data all the time. So on every single possible re-render, it's going to fetch the data. Now this drives me insane, because some APIs, they charge you per request, right? So you get like 1,000 requests per month or 10,000 requests per month. Can you imagine, like, if every developer is doing this, you're gonna run up the costs into like a lot. It's gonna be a lot. The only way, one way I figured out how to stop it from doing this is to do this basically. We create a child component, right? So let's do child equals. Now we wrap it into memo hook. Now remember, there is use memo, which is you use it inside of the component. Memo is exactly the same, only it only re-renders the component if property has changed. Does that make sense? So I'll show you. Okay. So now we are going to put all of this stuff in here. We're gonna return absolutely nothing. Well, let's return something. Let's just do, I don't know, what are we gonna do? Let's do h1 child with a HR element like this, right? So now we're gonna render child in here. So now you will see that it's not re-rendering all the time. Now we're gonna remove use memo first, so you'll get to see that it's going to re-render all the time. Right now it's still going to render all the time, right? Because our child component has no memo in it, you see it's re-rendering. So now we're gonna add memo in here, and you will see that it's going to stop re-rendering. I'm just picturing in my head, like, let's say you have some kind of users, and you only want to, and you see, so it's now not re-rendering anymore, right? So it runs on the start as usual, right? And then it doesn't re-render anymore, right? Okay, so now let's say you want to force re-render. So let's say we updated user in our API, and we want to force re-render. So the only way I was able to figure out how to do it is you have to set up some kind of, I don't know, re-render count, for example. Set recount equals to use state, and it's gonna be 0, right? So I'll show you that, first of all, if you just put input, so you see we have a input that gets every time you press a button, component re-renders, right? So if you want to constantly re-render the child, you need to have some kind of property that keeps changing when this component changes, right? So you can just put input and you'll see that it's going to start re-rendering like non-stop again. Okay, so you see you're typing and it's re-rendering. That's because the child property, this input property, keeps changing. And that's why it just forces this child to re-render. So, but what if we want to just re-render at specific times? So I thought the way to do that is just to put a state, right, which you're gonna control. And let's say we have a button. We call it re-render child. Let's say render child, right? And then on click, we are going to do, what are we going to do? We're going to set recount to recount +1, like this. And just for the crack, let's just get the property count from here. And just put like this. I called it count, but I mean I should have called it recount probably, but whatever. Okay, so look. So as we're typing, nothing happens. There's no fetching of the data. So we click on, now it fetches, you see? Because the child property has changed, and now you are fetching the data, right? Why that creates a problem? That means if you are displaying something, let's say, I don't know, some kind of to-do list, you are displaying user information with amount in it, right? How much money is in their account, for example. You have to create a child component to display this information. And when that user changes something, right, you're gonna have to force the re-render probably this way. Alternatively, if you control the API and you don't give a damn how many times it fetches the data per second, I mean, you can probably do it this way. But to be honest with you, like, I don't get why. Like, the main benefit of this thing is that this data is serialized, right? So the issue is technically, like, you can just create a helper function. Let's just get, I don't know, get data like this. Let's do a sync function. Export a sync function. Get data. Import Axios from. Now, tutorial's finished. I'm just doing this for myself. Because you see, the problem is you can just do a response equals await Axios.get. Where is that API? Whoops. Okay. Return response data. And then let's do export default. Get data. Now I'll do the default export, but I mean, you can see how you can just create get data by ID, pass the ID in here, and then this effectively becomes your this thing mumbo jumbo in here. and you don't need to do all this boilerplating. This code is just like a lot cleaner, to be honest with you. Whoopsie. So now we can just import from probably helper functions. Yeah, get that. There you go. Now, one disadvantage, of course, is that you're gonna have to create. No, actually, you don't. You don't. Hold on a sec. Let's just do a async function, fetch data like this. Let response equals await get data. Oh, I see the problem. Yeah. You're gonna have to write a fetch function like this per request. But you can just stack if statements in here probably, right? So you say if it's all, execute this one. If it's ID, execute the one that wants to fetch with ID. Yeah, so you can do it that way. Then you have one function for everything. Okay. And then this will give us the... And we want to run it on start, right? So fetch data like this, right? So now this is going to probably work. Let's see. What is it complaining about? Hold on a sec. What is it complaining about? Oh, I probably imported it incorrectly, did I? No? Get data, that's correct. Oh, I forgot to save. Oh my god. I keep forgetting to save, that's the problem. Okay. Okay, so I need to figure out which one is which. So this is a response from Axios. And this is data from Redux. Data ID from Redux. Yeah, so there's Redux, it loaded. There's Axios, right? So it loads it first, then Redux comes in, let's see, to type, everything is perfect. So you see, like, you don't have to go through a lot of this mumbo jumbo to stop it from re-rendering all the time. Right, so let's say we want to displace our data, we can just do const data set data use state. Let's do null, and here we can just do set data to response from here, this thing here, right? So now we're typing, everything is fine. So let's say we want to force a re-render of this thing here. So let's create a new button. Re-render Axios, like this. We can actually do on click. And then we can do fetch data. Just complaining about it again. Okay. Yeah. So now let's say we updated the data. Right, so API has been updated, we sent the balance, we withdrew the money, so we want to update the, right, so you see, you can just force it this way without creating a child and doing this mumbo jumbo code in here. The only issue again I see is that you're gonna have to have a lot of, so all of your roots are gonna go here. So let's say we'll do async function get data by ID is gonna be like this. So this would be our ID. So this would be like this. We can probably do it this way, plus ID. And then we're gonna have to do all of them as exports. So it's gonna be export, it's gonna be export. And now we're gonna need to import them this way. So let's say this is gonna be fetch type maybe. So that's gonna be our default. If nothing is given in here, so if fetch type equals ID, then we want to do the same shite. Only we want to do this. And ID is going to be I don't know, let's put 2. Ideally we probably want to fetch type and then ID, I don't know, let's just do it this way. Like this. Okay, so is it working or is it trolling me? Did I forget to save again? Oh yeah, I forgot to save. Okay. I just used to run a thing called save on type a long time ago and I kind of got used to it. Okay, now I need to, let's do fetch data by ID. Okay, so now we need to type this as ID, and then ID is gonna be whatever, 3. So now we should get whoops, oh yeah. Okay, I thought this might happen. this. Now it's going to work. Yeah, so now it's fetching the third person. Okay, so what's the drawback? The drawback is this function here. That's the problem. So, like, for you to use the roots, you have to use, you have to set up a custom function to run these functions through here, basically. I wonder if you can do it through here. Yeah. Yeah, this one is a little bit... And also the problem in here is that this is not very serialized. By serialized, I mean, look, you see, let's say, okay, let's say you want to fetch the data on every single re-render. You will not be able to do it this way because it's going to infinitely start fetching. This is because you see, these functions, they return an object, right? And this object has a, where was it? Explanation to this. Refer by value versus JavaScript. Yeah. It's basically this concept here is you have refer by value and refer by reference, right? So an object is going to have, like, you need to learn this concept, right? There is a good video. I actually think I have it. Coder Dimitri. Refer by value. Let me just find it 1 second. Yeah, pass by value versus pass by reference. You can watch like any of these videos. They can explain it well. Let me just find it. Pass by value. Huh? Oh, I didn't make it. Yeah, I didn't make it. I was just doing it. Use memo, I think, right? Yeah. Anyway, you can kind of watch this pass by value versus apply by reference, because there are so many videos explaining this. I decided not to do it. I just decided to explain use by reference, basically. This guy here explains it really well. Well, that's the one I watched and I got it straight away. So I'll probably link this in the description below. Yeah. So, like, the way he explains it is very, very straightforward. Okie doke, so I'm still deciding which one I'm gonna use. Out of the... Like, I probably am thinking of probably doing this one. Well, I'm gonna probably use this one for now. And then... think about the bottlenecks of constantly re-rendering. Okay, that's the end of the video. Take care. Bye bye.